The ultimatum that changed everything. I remember that day like it was yesterday. The air in the room felt heavy, like a storm was about to break. My mother looked at me with tears in her eyes and said, "Son, it's her or me. You have to choose." Those words hit me like a punch to the gut. I stood there, frozen, my heart pounding. How could I pick between the woman who raised me and the woman I loved? My wife, Sarah, was in the kitchen, pretending not to hear. But I knew she did. The tension had been building for months, but this was the breaking point. I felt a wave of sadness wash over me. Why did it have to come to this? I thought about all the good times we had as a family, now slipping away. As I sat down, my mind raced back to how it all started. But what happened next would tear us apart even more. Keep listening to find out. Our family roots. Let me take you back to where it all began. I grew up in a small town, the kind where everyone knows your name. My mother, Elena, was the heart of our home. She raised me alone after my father passed away when I was just 5. He had a heart attack one night, and suddenly it was just the two of us. Mom worked 2 jobs to keep food on the table. She was a cleaner at the local school during the day and sewed clothes for neighbors in the evenings. I remember her hands, always rough from the work, but so gentle when she tucked me in at night. As a kid, I felt her love in every little thing. She would save her last penny to buy me a book or a toy. We didn't have much, but we had each other. I promised myself I'd take care of her one day, make her life easier. That promise stuck with me through school and into my adult years. When I met Sarah, my wife, it felt like the missing piece. Sarah came from a big family full of laughter and noise. She was kind, with a smile that lit up the room. We met at a friend's wedding, and from that day, I knew she was the one. Our wedding was simple, just close friends and family. Mom was there, beaming with pride. She hugged Sarah and said, "Welcome to the family, dear." At first, everything seemed perfect. We moved into a small house near Mom, so I could check on her often. Sarah helped with meals sometimes, and Mom shared stories from my childhood. But as time went on, little cracks started to show. Mom's health began to fade. She got tired easily, and her arthritis made simple tasks hard. I spent more time with her, helping with doctor visits and chores. Sarah understood at first, but then she started feeling left out. I think about those early days now, with a mix of warmth and sadness. We were building a life together, all 3 of us. But hidden resentments were growing, like weeds in a garden. What started as small disagreements would soon turn into something bigger. I didn't see it coming. Keep listening to hear about the first signs of trouble. Mom had always been independent, even after Dad died. She refused help from anyone but me. "You're my boy," she'd say. "I trust you." That made me feel special, but it also put a weight on my shoulders. Sarah came from a different world. Her parents were still together, and her siblings shared the load. She didn't understand why Mom leaned on me so much. "Why can't she hire someone?" Sarah would ask quietly. I tried to explain, but words failed me sometimes. We had our first child, little Emma, 2 years into the marriage. That brought joy, but also more stress. Mom wanted to be involved, babysitting when she could. Sarah appreciated it, but Mom's ways clashed with hers. Mom believed in old remedies for colds, while Sarah trusted doctors. Small things, but they added up. I found myself in the middle, trying to keep peace. Nights were long, with Emma crying, and me worrying about both women in my life. Looking back, our family was like a fragile vase. Beautiful, but easy to break. Mom's past shaped her. She grew up poor, one of 6 kids. Her own mother died young, so she learned to fend for herself. That's why she held on tight to me. Sarah's backstory was warmer. Her family gatherings were full of food and stories. She wanted that for us, but Mom's quiet ways didn't fit. I loved them both, but the pull between them grew stronger. As Emma turned 1, Mom's health took a turn. She fell in the kitchen one day, bruising her hip. I rushed over, and Sarah came too. But that night, Sarah said, "We need boundaries." I nodded, but inside I felt torn. Mom needed me more than ever. Little did I know, this was just the start. The tensions were simmering, ready to boil over. What happened next surprised us all. Stay with me to find out. I often think about the holidays we shared. Christmas was special. Mom would bake her famous apple pie, and Sarah decorated the tree. Emma's eyes sparkled with the lights. Those moments felt like harmony. But even then, there were whispers. Mom would say, "In my day, we did it this way." Sarah would smile. But I saw the strain. I tried to bridge the gap, sharing stories to connect them. Dad's death left a hole in Mom. She never remarried, pouring all her love into me. I became her world. When Sarah entered, Mom was happy, but deep down, maybe scared of losing me. Sarah sensed it. "She treats you like a child," she'd say. I defended Mom, but part of me wondered. Our home was filled with love, yet unspoken words hung in the air. Emma changed everything for the better, at first. Mom held her granddaughter and cried happy tears. "She's perfect," she said. Sarah beamed. But as months passed, Mom's visits increased. She offered advice on feeding, sleeping. Sarah felt judged. "I know what I'm doing," she'd whisper to me later. I felt stuck, loving them both. Our town was quiet, with green fields and a river nearby. We walked there as a family sometimes. Those walks were peaceful. Mom told tales of her youth. Sarah shared dreams for our future. I cherished those times. But health issues loomed. Mom's doctor said she needed more care. I promised to help. Sarah worried about our own family. The balance was tipping. Reflecting now, I see how backstories shaped us. Mom's losses made her cling. Sarah's stable home made her value independence. I was the link, but links can break under pressure. The setup was there for conflict, and soon it would erupt in ways I never imagined. But what was the first real fight? I'll tell you in the next part. Keep going with me. Mom's early struggles. To really understand my mom, Elena, I need to go back further, to her own childhood. She was born in a tiny village, far from the city lights. It was the kind of place where dirt roads turned to mud in the rain, and families shared one room to sleep. Mom was the fourth of 6 children. Her parents worked the fields from dawn to dusk, growing corn and beans just to survive. Money was scarce, and food was even scarcer some days. Mom told me once how they would share a single loaf of bread among all 8 of them. She learned early on what hunger felt like, that empty ache in her belly. Her mother, my grandmother, was a strong woman, but life wore her down. She died when Mom was only 10, from an illness that no one could afford to treat. It was pneumonia, I think. But back then, doctors were rare in the village. Mom watched her fade away, day by day. After that, everything changed. Her father tried to hold the family together, but he drank to forget his pain. The older siblings left one by one, seeking work in the cities. Mom, at 10 years old, became like a mother to her younger brothers and sisters. She cooked, cleaned, and mended clothes with whatever scraps she could find. School? She went when she could, but often skipped to help at home. Education felt like a luxury she couldn't have. Those years shaped her in ways I can only imagine. She learned to be tough, to hide her tears, to keep going no matter what. But inside, there was a deep fear of loss. Losing her mom so young left a scar. She clung to what she had, afraid it would slip away too. When she met my dad later, as a young woman working in a factory, it felt like a fresh start. They married, moved to our small town, and had me. But even then, the hardships followed. Dad worked hard, but jobs were unsteady. Mom sewed late into the night to make ends meet. She never complained, though. "We have each other," she'd say, with a soft smile. I think about her childhood now, and it breaks my heart. No child should carry that weight. It explains why she held on so tight to me after Dad died. I was her anchor in a stormy sea. She poured all her love into me, maybe too much sometimes. Sarah didn't know all these details at first. When I shared them, she listened, but I wonder if she truly understood. How could she? Her own childhood was so different, with parents who read bedtime stories and took family trips. As Mom's health worsened in her later years, those old fears resurfaced. She didn't want to be alone, like she was as a kid. She'd call me more often, her voice trembling. "Just come sit with me," she'd say. I did, of course. But Sarah started to notice the pull. It was pulling me away from our life. Little arguments began, quiet at first. Mom would say something about how I was raised, and Sarah would feel it as criticism. I tried to smooth things over, but the roots of the problem went deep, back to Mom's painful past. Reflecting on it, I see how her hardships made her who she was. Strong, but vulnerable. She sacrificed so much, and I owed her everything. But balancing that with my new family was getting harder. One day, it all came to a head in a way none of us expected. What was that moment? I'll share it soon. Stay with me through this story. Sarah's world, a different kind of family. Now let me tell you about Sarah's side of the story, because it matters just as much. Sarah grew up in a lively house on the edge of the city, not rich, but comfortable. Her parents, Maria and Tom, had been married for over 30 years when we met. They were the kind of couple who still held hands when they walked to the store. There were 4 kids in total. Sarah was the second oldest. The house was always full of noise. Someone laughing, someone arguing over the TV remote, someone calling out for dinner. It felt warm, like a blanket on a cold night. Her mom, Maria, was the glue. She worked as a nurse, long shifts, but she always made time for family dinners. Every Sunday, without fail, they sat around the big wooden table. Plates piled high with rice, chicken, fresh salad. Stories flew back and forth. Sarah's dad, Tom, was quieter. He fixed cars for a living, hands always a little stained with oil. But he listened. He gave advice only when asked, and when he did, everyone paid attention. Sarah learned from them that marriage was about teamwork. Her older brother, David, was the protective one. He taught her how to ride a bike, how to stand up to bullies. Her younger sister, Lily, was the dreamer, always drawing, always talking about big plans. And the youngest, little Jake, was everyone's baby, even now that he's grown. They teased each other, yes, but it was gentle. If someone fell, the others picked them up. No one ever felt alone in that house. That was the biggest difference between Sarah's childhood and my mom's. When Sarah was little, her parents never let money worries show. If times were tight, they made it into a game. Let's see how many meals we can make from this chicken. They laughed through it. Sarah told me once, I never felt poor, even when we were. That safety, that sense of being part of something bigger, shaped her. She grew up believing families should lift each other up, not lean too hard on one person. That's why when we got married, Sarah dreamed of building the same thing. She wanted Sunday dinners with our little Emma, maybe more kids later. She wanted laughter, shared chores, everyone helping everyone. She pictured holidays where both sides came together, my quiet mom and her big noisy family, blending somehow. But reality felt different. My mom's needs pulled me away, more and more. Sarah tried to understand. She really did. I remember one evening, early in our marriage, we were at her parents' house for dinner. Everyone was talking at once. Sarah's mom asked about my mom, how she was doing. I said she was okay, but tired. Sarah squeezed my hand under the table. Later in the car, she said softly, I want us to have that too. A family that feels like a team. I promised her we would. But promises are easy when things are calm. As Mom's health slipped, Sarah started feeling the distance. She never said it loudly, but I could see it in her eyes. She wanted me home more, playing with Emma, helping with baths and bedtime. She wanted us to be a unit like her parents were. Instead, I was running between 2 homes. One night after I came back late from Mom's, Sarah sat on the couch, Emma asleep on her shoulder. She looked at me and whispered, I miss you. I miss us. Her voice cracked just a little. That hurt more than any argument. Sarah's family taught her independence, but also connection. They shared everything, worries, joys, even mistakes. When her dad got sick once, years ago, they all took turns at the hospital. No one carried it alone. Sarah expected the same from us. But my mom, with her past, didn't know how to ask anyone but me. She didn't want to burden others. Sarah saw it as pulling me away on purpose. I tried to explain Mom's childhood, the loneliness, the fear. Sarah listened. She nodded. But she said, I get it. I do. But what about us? What about Emma? Those words stayed with me. They were fair. They were honest. But they also made the gap feel wider. Her example. Mine was my duty, my promise. Two worlds, both full of love, but pulling in different directions. I loved Sarah for her warmth, for the way she made our home feel alive. I loved my mom for her sacrifices, for the way she kept going when life tried to break her. Looking back, I see how her upbringing made Sarah strong in a different way. She wasn't afraid to speak up. She believed in balance. Mom believed in loyalty above all else. Neither was wrong. They were just different. And I was caught between them, trying to hold both worlds together. The tension kept growing, slow and quiet, like a river carving stone. Small moments turned into bigger ones. One day, it reached a point where words were said that couldn't be taken back. What were those words? I'll tell you next. Stay here with me. The story is about to turn. The bonds between Sarah and her siblings. Sarah's relationship with her siblings was something I always admired, even when it made me feel a little envious. They were close in a way that felt natural, like they were born knowing how to support each other. David, her older brother, was 5 years ahead of her. He was the one who looked out for her from the start. When they were kids, he'd walk her to school every morning, even when he could have gone with his friends. Sarah told me how he once stood up to some older boys who were teasing her about her new glasses. He didn't yell or fight. He just stood there, tall and calm, until they walked away. From that day on, she knew she had a shield. Here's a memory she shared with me often. David teaching her to ride a bike in the park near their house. She was 7, scared of falling, but he held the seat steady, running beside her. You've got this, Sarah. Just keep pedaling, he said, over and over. When the training wheels came off, she wobbled, almost crashed, but he caught her. They laughed so hard that day. That moment stayed with her. It wasn't just about the bike. It was about knowing someone would always be there to catch you. Here are a couple of images that remind me of those sweet sibling moments. Then there was Lily, her younger sister by 3 years. Lily was the creative one, always drawing pictures or writing little stories. Sarah was her biggest fan. When Lily felt shy about showing her artwork, Sarah would sit with her for hours, encouraging her. This is beautiful, Lil. You have to show Mom and Dad. They shared a room growing up, whispering secrets under the covers long after lights out. Even now, as adults, they talk almost every day. If one of them is upset, the other knows without words. Lily once drove 3 hours just to bring Sarah soup when she had a bad flu. No questions asked. That's the kind of love they had. And little Jake, the baby of the family, was everyone's soft spot. By the time he came along, Sarah was already 12, so she helped raise him. She changed diapers, read him bedtime stories, and later helped with homework. Jake looked up to her like she hung the moon. Even when he was a teenager and thought he was too cool for family hugs, he'd still text her when something went wrong. Hey sis, need advice, the messages would say. She'd drop everything to listen. Family dinners at their house were loud and full of life. Everyone talked over each other, passing plates, laughing at old jokes. Sarah's siblings would tease her about me when we first started dating. He's quiet, but we like him, David would say, with a grin. But it was always kind. They welcomed me in slowly, like I was becoming part of the circle. Here's what those gatherings felt like. Warm, chaotic, full of connection. Footsteps echoed. Heart hammering. Shadows melting into darkness. And then, the gentle sound of laughter. The soft glow of those memories. It's the kind of love that lingers long after the last light fades. That closeness shaped Sarah deeply. She learned that family means sharing everything. The good days, the hard ones, the mistakes. No one person carried the weight alone. When someone needed help, the whole group stepped in. It was the opposite of my mom's world, where survival meant holding on tight to what little you had, trusting only yourself and your child. When our life got complicated, Sarah wanted that same teamwork for us. She wanted her siblings' advice on raising Emma, wanted us to host dinners where everyone felt included. But my mom's situation made it hard. I was often at her place helping with meals or doctor calls. Sarah would call her brother or sister for a quick chat, just to feel that support. I could hear the relief in her voice after those talks. It made me happy for her, but also sad that I couldn't give her the same thing as easily. One evening, after a long day, Sarah sat with me on the porch. Emma was asleep inside. She looked at the stars and said quietly, "My siblings always had my back. I want Emma to have that too. I want her to know she's never alone." I put my arm around her. I wanted the same, but the pull from Mom's side was strong. Sarah never asked me to choose then. She just shared her heart. Those sibling bonds were her foundation, steady, forgiving, always there. They gave her strength when things got tough with us. She drew from them to keep going, to stay calm even when she felt pushed aside. I respected that. I loved that about her. But it also highlighted the difference between our families, one built on shared strength, the other on quiet sacrifice. As time went on, those differences started to show more clearly. Small comments turned into bigger hurts. The balance we tried to keep began to tip. And one day, it all led to the moment we never thought would come. What was that breaking point? I'll tell you in the next part. The story is getting heavier now. Stay with me. The weight of love and loss. Deeper reflections. I sit here sometimes late at night when the house is quiet, and I let myself feel it all again. The ache, the quiet regret that settles in my chest like a stone I can't move. I think about my mother's hands, those rough, hard-working hands that once held me when I was small and scared. They shook now when she tried to pour her own tea, and every time I saw that tremble, something inside me broke a little more. How do you repay a lifetime of sacrifice? How do you measure love against time, against health slipping away? And then there's Sarah. Sarah who looked at me with those soft brown eyes and asked, without ever raising her voice, "Why does it always have to be you?" She never screamed. She never threw things. She just faded. Little by little, the light in her smile dimmed when I walked through the door late again. The way she held Emma tighter, like she was protecting her from the cracks spreading through our home, I saw it. I felt it. And still, I kept going back to Mom's house. There were nights I lay awake between them. Two women I loved more than my own breath. And I asked myself the same question over and over. Am I a good son? Am I a good husband? Or am I just failing everyone, slowly, quietly, day after day? I remember one afternoon, very clearly. Emma was napping. The sun came through the kitchen window in long golden stripes across the floor. Sarah was washing dishes, her back to me. She didn't turn around when I came in. She just spoke, voice low, almost a whisper. "I used to dream about growing old with you, about watching our grandchildren play in this yard. Now I'm scared we won't even make it to next Christmas together." Her words landed soft, but they cut deep. I wanted to wrap my arms around her, promise her the world. But the promise felt hollow, because part of me was already promised somewhere else. Tied to hospital beds, to pill bottles, to a woman who once gave me everything when she had nothing left to give. I walked to my mother's house that same evening. She was sitting in her favorite chair by the window, wrapped in the blanket I bought her years ago. She looked smaller than I remembered. When I sat beside her, she reached for my hand without looking. Her fingers were cold. "Sometimes I wish I'd never gotten sick," she said, so quietly I almost missed it. "So you wouldn't have to choose." I couldn't speak. My throat closed up. All I could do was hold her hand tighter, as if that could stop time, as if love alone could fix what was breaking. I think the hardest part wasn't the arguments. It wasn't even the silence that came after. It was realizing that love, real, deep love, can still hurt people. That you can give your whole heart to two people and still leave both of them bleeding. That being loyal to one doesn't mean you stop loving the other, but it can feel that way to the one left waiting. I carried guilt like a second skin. Every time I kissed Sarah goodnight, I felt like I was apologizing. Every time I helped Mom into bed, I felt like I was apologizing to Sarah all over again. I was sorry to both of them, and sorry to myself, for not knowing how to stop the hurting. There were moments I stood in the doorway, between our bedroom and the hallway, listening to Emma's soft breathing, and I thought, if I could go back, if I could sit my younger self down and explain, would I tell him to choose differently? Or would I just hold him and say, son, love is never simple. And sometimes the biggest wounds come from the people you would die for. I didn't have answers then. I still don't have clean ones now. All I know is the pain was real, the love was real, and somewhere in the middle of all that realness, our family started to fracture. But the fracture wasn't sudden. It was slow. 1,000 small goodbyes, 1,000 small choices, until one day. One single day. What happened that day? What words were spoken that couldn't be taken back? I'll tell you. But take a breath with me first. Because this part still hurts to remember. Stay with me. We're almost to the heart of it. Through Emma's eyes, the quiet world of a child, Emma was only 4 when the heaviest days came. Too young to understand the words, but old enough to feel the air change. Children have a way of sensing things adults try to hide. They notice the silences that stretch too long. The way Mommy's smile doesn't quite reach her eyes anymore. The way Daddy leaves the house with heavy shoulders and comes back even heavier. She never asked why Grandpa wasn't around anymore. She knew he had gone to heaven before she was born. But she started asking about Grandma a lot. Daddy, why is Grandma always sick? She'd climb onto my lap, her small hands holding my face, making sure I looked right at her. Her eyes were so clear, so trusting. I'd swallow hard and tell her, Grandma's body is tired, sweetheart, but she loves you so much. She'd nod, like that made perfect sense. Then she'd ask the next question that always came. Why doesn't Mommy come with us to Grandma's house anymore? That one cut deepest. Because how do you explain to a 4-year-old that the 2 women she loves most in the world can't be in the same room without the air turning thick? I'd pull her close, kiss the top of her head, smell her baby shampoo, and whisper, Mommy has to stay home sometimes, baby, but she loves you and Grandma both. She'd accept it, not because it was true, but because she trusted me. Children trust until the world teaches them not to. There were nights she'd wake up crying, not the loud, angry cries of a tantrum, the soft, confused ones, the ones that break your heart because they don't even know why they're hurting. I'd go to her room, lift her out of bed, and rock her in the old chair by the window. She'd press her face into my neck and mumble, I don't want everyone to be sad. I'd freeze, because she saw it. She felt the sadness leaking out of us, even when we tried to keep it locked away. Sarah would hear us from the hallway. She'd stand there in her robe, arms wrapped around herself, eyes shiny. She never interrupted. She just watched. And I knew she was thinking the same thing I was. We're hurting her. Without meaning to, without wanting to, we're hurting our little girl. One Saturday morning stands out like a photograph in my mind. Emma had drawn a picture at preschool. 3 stick figures holding hands under a big yellow sun. One with long hair, Mommy. One with short hair, Daddy. One with gray hair and a cane, Grandma. She ran to show us, so proud. Look, we're all together. Sarah took the paper. Her fingers trembled just a little. She smiled, but it was the kind of smile that hurts to make. That's beautiful, baby, she said. Then she looked at me over Emma's head. Our eyes met. And in that second, we both understood something terrible. Emma still believed we could all be together. She still saw us as one family, while we were already drifting into 2. Later that day, Emma wanted to take the picture to Grandma. I said yes, of course. We drove over. Mom opened the door slowly, leaning on her walker. When Emma held up the drawing, Mom's face softened in a way I hadn't seen in months. She touched the paper like it was made of glass. Oh, my sweet girl, she whispered. You made me look so strong. Emma beamed. Then she looked between us and asked in her innocent, perfect way, Grandma, why don't you come live with us? Then we can all be together every day. The room went still. Mom's eyes filled. Sarah wasn't there. She had stayed home to rest, she said. But I felt her absence like a missing heartbeat. Mom reached down, slow and careful, and pulled Emma into a hug. I wish I could, Angel, she said. But sometimes grown-ups have to figure things out first. Emma frowned. She didn't understand. She just wanted her people in one place. That was all. On the drive home, she fell asleep in her car seat, clutching the empty space where the drawing had been. Mom had kept it, taped it right above her chair so she could see it every day. I glanced at Emma in the rearview mirror. Her little face was peaceful in sleep. But even in dreams, I wondered if she felt the cracks. If she dreamed of us holding hands under that big yellow sun, or if she dreamed of us letting go. I parked the car in our driveway, sat there for a long time, engine off, hands on the wheel, tears running down my face in silence, because a child's hope is the purest thing in the world. And when it starts to bend, when it starts to doubt, that's when you know the damage is real. Emma never stopped loving us. She never chose sides. She just kept waiting. Waiting for the day we'd all be together again, the way her picture promised we could be. And that waiting, that innocent, patient waiting, it hurt more than any argument ever could. The breaking point was coming. It was closer now than ever. One conversation, one ultimatum, one impossible choice. What happened when the words were finally spoken out loud? I'll tell you. But hold my hand through this next part, because this is where the heart really cracks open. Stay with me. We're almost there. The day the words were spoken. It happened on a quiet Tuesday evening in late fall. The leaves outside were turning deep red and gold, but inside our home, everything felt gray. I came back from Mom's place around 7. She had a bad day. Her breathing was shallow, and the nurse said we might need to think about more help soon. I walked in carrying that weight, like I always did. Sarah was in the kitchen, stirring something on the stove. Emma was coloring at the table, humming softly to herself. Sarah didn't look up right away. She just kept stirring. Then she said very calmly, "You're late again." I set my keys down. I know, Mom needed me to stay while the nurse finished. She turned off the burner, wiped her hands on a towel. Then she finally looked at me. Her eyes were tired, but there was something new in them, something steady and final. "I can't do this anymore," she said. The words came out soft, like she'd practiced them. "I love you. I love our daughter. But I can't keep waiting for pieces of you." I felt the floor shift under me. "Sarah?" She raised a hand. Not angry, just done. "I've tried. God knows I've tried. I've cooked meals she likes when she comes over. I've listened to her stories. I've sat quiet when she tells me how to raise our child. But every time you leave, a little more of us stays behind." Emma looked up from her coloring book. Her crayon stopped moving. She watched us, big eyes moving from Mommy to Daddy. Sarah took a breath. Her voice stayed low. "I talked to Mom today. Your mom, while you were there." My heart dropped. "You did?" She called me. She was crying. She said she didn't want to be the reason we fall apart. But then she said if it came down to it, you'd choose her. Because blood is blood, and she's dying. Sarah looked at me then, really looked. And I realized, she's right. You would. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out, because part of me knew she wasn't wrong. Mom had raised me alone. She had given everything. How could I turn my back on her now? Sarah continued, "I'm not asking you to abandon her. I would never ask that. But I need you to choose our family too. All the way. Not halfway. Not when it's convenient." She paused. The silence stretched. Then she said the words that changed everything. "If you can't give us that, if you can't put us first when it matters most, and I think we need to be apart. For Emma's sake. For mine. And maybe even for yours." It wasn't yelled. It wasn't dramatic. It was quiet, like the sound of a door closing slowly. I stood there stunned. My chest hurt so bad I could barely breathe. Emma slid off her chair. She walked over and tugged my sleeve. "Daddy, are you and Mommy fighting?" I knelt down, picked her up, held her close so she wouldn't see my face. No, baby. We're just talking. But Sarah's eyes met mine over Emma's head. And in that look, I saw it all. The love that was still there. The pain that had grown bigger than the love. The fear that we might never find our way back. She turned away first, went to the sink, started washing dishes like nothing had happened. But her shoulders were shaking just a little. I carried Emma to her room, tucked her in, read her a story, even though my voice cracked twice. She fell asleep holding my hand, trusting, still believing everything would be okay. When I came back to the living room, Sarah was sitting on the couch. She had the phone in her hand. I called my sister, she said quietly. I might go stay with her for a few days. Give us space. I sat across from her. The space between us felt like miles. I don't want to lose you, I whispered. I don't want to lose any of this. She looked at me, eyes shining. Then don't. But you have to decide, because I can't keep being the one who waits. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in the dark kitchen, staring at the wall, thinking about Mom's trembling hands, thinking about Sarah's fading smile, thinking about Emma's drawing on the fridge, 3 stick figures, holding hands. And I realized something terrible. The ultimatum wasn't just from Mom. It had come from both sides now. Choose your dying mother, or choose the family you promised to build. There was no clean way out, no way to save everyone. The next morning, Sarah packed a small bag. Emma thought it was a sleepover adventure. She hugged her mommy tight and said, "Come back soon, okay?" Sarah kissed her forehead. "I will, baby. I promise." Then she looked at me one last time before she left. No anger, just deep, quiet sadness. The door closed behind her, and the house felt emptier than it ever had. I drove to Mom's that afternoon. She was in bed, weaker than the day before. When she saw my face, she knew. "What happened, son?" she asked. I told her. Everything. The ultimatum. Sarah leaving. The choice hanging over all of us. Mom cried, silent tears running down her cheeks. "I never wanted this," she whispered. "I never wanted to break your home." I held her hand. "I know, Mom, I know." But we both knew the truth. The breaking had already started. And now it was up to me to decide how or if it could ever be mended. The storm had finally broken open. But what came after? What choice did I make? Did we find a way through, or did the family shatter for good? That's what comes next, the hardest part of all. Take a breath with me. We're going deeper now. Stay close. The days that followed, silence, regret, and small truths. The house felt wrong without Sarah. It was too quiet, too big. Emma kept walking from room to room, looking for her mommy, like she might appear around the next corner. "Where's Mommy?" she'd ask every few hours. I'd kneel down, look her in the eyes, and say the same thing each time. "She's at Auntie Lily's for a little while, baby. She'll be back soon." But soon started to feel like a lie, even to me. I took Emma to Mom's every day after preschool. Mom was weaker now. Most days she stayed in bed, propped up on pillows. When Emma came in, though, Mom's face would light up, just a little. She'd pat the blanket beside her. "Come tell Grandma about your day, Angel." Emma would climb up carefully, so careful not to hurt her. She'd talk about finger painting, about the new song they learned, about how she missed Mommy's hugs. Mom listened. She always listened. And sometimes, when Emma wasn't looking, Mom would look at me with eyes full of guilt. One afternoon, while Emma was napping on the couch in the next room, Mom reached for my hand. Her grip was so weak. "I'm sorry, son," she whispered. "I should have told her. I should have told Sarah how much I appreciate her. How grateful I am that she gave me a granddaughter. That she gave you love when I couldn't be everything anymore." I shook my head. "You don't have to." "I do," she said, "because I see it now. I see how much I took from you. How much I took from her. I was scared. Scared of being left alone, like I was when your grandmother died. I held on too tight. And now look when it's done." Tears slipped down her cheeks. She didn't wipe them away. She just kept holding my hand. "I don't want you to choose me over your wife. I want you to choose your family. All of it, even if that means letting me go a little. Those words broke something inside me. I put my head down on the edge of her bed and cried like I hadn't since I was a boy. Mom stroked my hair the way she used to when I was small. Soft, slow, like she was saying goodbye to more than just the moment. That night, after I tucked Emma in, I called Sarah. She answered on the third ring. Her voice was soft, careful. Hello. Sarah, I miss you. The words came out rough, like they'd been stuck in my throat for days. A long pause. Then she said, I miss you too, but missing isn't enough anymore. I know. I swallowed. I talked to Mom today. She told me she doesn't want me to choose her over you. She said she's sorry for everything. Another silence. Then Sarah's voice, quieter now. Did she mean it? She did. I could see it. She cried, Sarah. She's never cried in front of me like that. I heard Sarah take a shaky breath. I don't want her to suffer. I never did. I needed to feel like I mattered too. You do, I said. You always have. I was just too scared to admit how much I was failing you both. We didn't fix everything that night. We didn't promise the world. But we talked. Really talked. About the hurt, about the fear, about how love can twist into pain when no one says the hard things out loud. The next day, Sarah came home. Not to stay, not yet. Just to see Emma. Emma ran to her at the door and wrapped her arms around Sarah's legs so tight. Mommy, you came back. Sarah knelt down and held her close, tears in her eyes. I missed you so much, baby girl. I stood back, watching them. My heart ached in the best and worst way. Sarah looked up at me over Emma's shoulder. Our eyes met, and for the first time in weeks, there was no wall between us. Just two people who still loved each other, trying to find the way forward. We sat together that afternoon, all four of us. Emma played on the floor with her toys. Sarah and I sat on the couch, close enough to touch, but not quite touching. We talked about Mom, about how we could help her without losing ourselves. Sarah said, maybe we can hire more help. Maybe I can visit her sometimes, when I'm ready. I nodded. I'd like that. She'd like that. Emma crawled up between us. She looked from one to the other. Are we all together now? Sarah smiled, small but real. We're trying, sweetheart. We're trying very hard. That evening, I drove to Mom's alone. I told her Sarah had come home, that we were talking, that we weren't giving up. Mom closed her eyes. A single tear slipped out. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for not letting me be the reason it ends. I stayed with her until she fell asleep. Her breathing was slow and steady, peaceful. For the first time in a long time, I felt like maybe, just maybe, we could still hold this family together. Not perfect, not the way it used to be, but together. The road wasn't over. There were still hard days ahead, still conversations we needed to have, still forgiveness we needed to give and receive. But for the first time since the ultimatum, I didn't feel like I was drowning. I felt like I was finally starting to swim toward something, toward healing, toward hope. What happened in the end? Did we make it? Did the family find its way back? That's the final piece, the soft closing of this chapter. One more part to go. Take my hand. The quiet healing, where we landed. Time doesn't heal everything. Not really. But it gives you space to breathe, space to remember what love looked like before the cracks appeared. Space to forgive, not just the others, but yourself. Sarah came home for good 3 weeks after that first visit, not with big promises or dramatic speeches, just a suitcase, a tired smile, and the quiet determination to try again. We didn't rush. We started small. Shared meals at the table again. Walks around the block with Emma between us, holding both our hands. Nights where we sat on the couch after Emma was asleep, talking until the words ran dry. Sometimes we cried. Sometimes we just sat in silence. But we were there, together. Mom's health kept fading. There were more bad days than good ones now. But something beautiful happened in those final months. Sarah started coming with me. Not every time. Not forced. but when she felt ready. The first time she walked through Mom's door after everything, I saw Mom's eyes widen, then soften, then fill with tears. Sarah didn't say much at first. She just sat beside the bed, held Mom's hand. And when Mom whispered, "I'm so sorry, dear," Sarah shook her head gently. "We both made mistakes. Let's just be here now." They talked, really talked, about the past, about the fear that had made them both hold on too tight, about how love can look like control when you're scared of losing it. Mom told Sarah stories from her childhood, things she'd only ever told me. Sarah listened, and for the first time, I saw them see each other, not as threats, not as rivals, but as women who had both loved the same man in different ways, both carrying wounds the other couldn't see until now. One afternoon, Mom was having a good day. She asked Sarah to help her sit up. Then she looked at me and said, "Bring Emma in here. I want to see my girls together." Emma climbed onto the bed carefully. She snuggled between them, Mom on one side, Sarah on the other, and for a few precious minutes, the room felt full again. Not of tension, not of guilt, just love. Quiet, imperfect, stubborn love. Mom passed away peacefully 3 months later, on a Sunday morning. The sun was coming through the window, soft and golden. Sarah was there. I was holding Mom's hand. Emma was asleep in the next room. Mom looked at us both, smiled that small, tired smile, and whispered, "You did good, son. You kept them both." Her last breath was gentle, like letting go of a long-held breath. The funeral was small, just family. Sarah stood beside me at the graveside. She held my hand the whole time. When it was over, she leaned into me and said, "She knew we made it. She saw us." We planted a small apple tree in our backyard that spring. Emma helped dig the hole. She said, "This is for Grandma, so she can watch us from the sky and eat pie when she wants." We laughed through tears. Then we watered it together. Life didn't go back to how it was. It couldn't. We carry the scars, the memories of nights we slept apart, the words we wish we could take back. But we also carry the healing, the moments we chose each other again, the way Sarah and Mom found peace before it was too late. Emma is 6 now. She still draws pictures, 3 stick figures under a big yellow sun. But now there's a 4th sometimes, a little angel with wings, watching over us. We don't always get it right. We still argue. We still get tired. But when the hard days come, we remember. We remember the cost of silence, the price of holding on too tight, the beauty of letting go just enough to let love breathe. If there's a lesson in all this, it's not loud, it's quiet. Like Mom's last smile, like Sarah's hand in mine at the grave, like Emma's innocent hope. Love isn't about never hurting each other. It's about choosing, again and again, to stay, to listen, to forgive, to heal, even when it's messy, even when it hurts. We're still here. We're still together. And every day, we're still choosing each other. That's our story. My true story. The one about a son who almost lost everything and found a way to hold on to what mattered most. If this touched you, if you've ever felt torn between the people you love, hit that like button, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more real stories, more grandma stories, more lessons wrapped in heartbreak and hope. Thank you for staying with me until the end. May your family find its way through whatever storms come, and may you always remember, love is worth the fight.